topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the hosts and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Welcome to the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV, where we bring you educational information from top local experts in the fields of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. Now sit back and listen to experts in family law, association law, hearing loss, business brokers, home care, along with many other topics. Now here are your hosts, Steve-O and Sophia.
Hey, good morning. Welcome to another Ask the Expert show where we bring you the top experts in the field of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. This is our 16th year, and I think our expert has joined us. This is a show. I've never seen a show do this in my 16 years to get so much traction. This is our national portion of the show, and we also do one for Missouri, Tennessee, and one for the Texas area. But this show has just, on our numbers for YouTube, has just been incredible. And the reason why is we have some experts who, believe me, have been with us 10 or 15 years. I compare this to our number one expert who's been with us for 12 years. They do an hour show 3 times a month. And this show is just, it's almost surpassed them. I love doing this show because this is such an important area in people's lives. And it puts so much pressure and it ruins families because of the pressure. But there is an escape to all this. Let me introduce you to my buddy, one of the hardest working attorneys in the United States, attorney Lance Drury. Good morning, Lance.
Good morning, Steve. Thank you for that great introduction. I want to tell you, I got your email over the weekend about wanting to make this a long-term relationship. We're going to do it. Because I like being here as much as you love having me. I just love helping people out. And, you know, this is just great. I just love being here.
Lance, you know what? I got to tell you, you and I are about the same age. You know what? Most people are retiring, and you and I are basically the same. We can't expand fast enough. And what you have done with your firm, I'm just blown away. But I want you to know that we get so many letters from people just thanking us for your show. They love your knowledge. They love your heart. And it's just, this has become such an important show for us. And I want to, in the future, because we're getting a lot of people asking about business and tax problems businesses are having, not just individuals. And I promise you, we will get to that, I promise you. But Lance, tell people about your firm because we're getting new people all the time tuning in.
Well, Steve, my firm represents people and businesses that owe taxes to Uncle Sam. We're involved in all facets, including criminal investigation. We've handled criminal cases in state court when there's unpaid sales tax. Most people don't know that's a crime. We have offices in St. Genevieve, Missouri, which is a very historic town on the banks of the Mississippi. I was born and raised here, founded in 1735 by the French. We're in St. Louis. I was in my St. Louis office Saturday. I'm an hour away from St. Louis. We have offices in Nashville, Tennessee, although they weren't there most of the week last week. In fact, the office was closed for 2 days because lack of electricity. And then we have offices in San Antonio and Houston. And I'm 72, and I've told you this. We're going into Miami next. And then after that, LA. And then I'm going to think back and say, well, maybe it's enough. We'll see.
I doubt it.
I just
man.
love doing this. And, you know, I tell everybody we are the liberation architects. You know, most tax attorneys talk numbers. We talk financial freedom. We're here to give people's lives back. We're here to save their businesses, save their marriages, save their retirement monies, save their paycheck, save their bank account. And you know, I've said this before, Steve, but it's the truth. And I can't think of a better analogy. I'm the guy who's saving Fay Ray from the clutches of King Kong. And, you know, that's what we do every single day.
I just got to throw this in, Lance. I was born at Jewish Hospital. It's now Barnes Hospital in St. Louis, but it was called Jewish Hospital back then.
Yeah, I know. And, you know, all those hospitals now, they're all consolidating. They're all,
yes.
You know, there's very few now. Even now they're down to Festus, which is a half wire south. Mercy has taken over that. So there's very few hospitals. There's multiple locations, but it's not like the old days.
Exactly. Well, let's get to the questions. Speaking of Houston, our first question is from Cedric in Houston. How do I qualify for offer and compromise?
Well, I can only give you the short answer, Cedric, because it takes a while to go through the financials and all that, and you're restricted in certain ways. But basically, it's driven by your net equity and assets and the difference between your income and your expenses. And it's very formulaic. Normally, the people who owe at least six figures or close to it. And we're finding in the Nashville area that very few people qualify for an offer. And I can't go through all of this in the initial consult, but if somebody's got their heart set on an offer and compromise, I will ask them about this anyway. You know, and the reason people in Nashville don't qualify, and a lot of people don't qualify, is how much equity do you have in your home? That throws a lot of people out of an offer and compromise because they're going to value your home at 80% of its fair market value minus whatever mortgage you may have on it. Now, there's different ways to massage that, but every case is different, so I don't want to go into that. But there are other ways to try to get that a better deal. But that's the reason that a lot of people in Nashville don't qualify, because people from California are moving to Nashville. They're paying $200,000 over the listed price for a home. And just the net equity that people have in homes in Nashville is driving them out of an offer. Maybe 3% of our clients in Nashville qualify for an offer and compromise.
This is from Storming in Charlotte. I love your show. I want to tell you, you handled my brother's case with the IRS, and your firm did such a great idea. But my question is, my husband is having problems. What do I tell him to convince him to call you?
Well, you tell him that if he does nothing, you know, putting your head in the sand is not a good strategy with the taxing authorities. And tell him, you know, they're a bureaucracy, things fall through the cracks, but they're going to catch up with you. And how's he going to feel if one day he wakes up and they've wiped out his bank account, or if he goes to work that day and he gets notified from payroll or human resources that he has a levy on his wages and they're going to take 90% of his take-home pay? You know, I had a guy in my office in St. Louis once, and when he walked in, he looked like he was half dead, and this has been 8 years ago probably. And when he sat down, I said, "What's wrong?" And he said, "Well, I've been sleeping in my car for over a year because Uncle Sam is leaving me with $200 every 2 weeks to live on." And at that point, he didn't have the money to hire me or anybody else. And I know, given his financial situation, that he would have paid little or nothing out of all the debt that he owed. But you know, the burden's on you to prove to the IRS that you don't have the ability to pay. The IRS is not going to go out. They don't have the funds. They don't have the employees to go out and investigate your financial resources. They're not going to do that. The burden is on you. And until you do that, if you have liability, you're subject to levies. You're subject to financial dissolution, financial devastation. You're subject to having your bank accounts wiped out, your 1099s taken in whole. Now, it's not a problem if you have different clients all the time, but if your 1099 for years and years is from the same employer, guess what? You're going to get zapped. And it's 100% and 90% up to that. Although if you have children, you fill out the exemption deal, it'll be less than 90. But if you got kids, how can you live on 50% of your paycheck? So delay is never a good strategy. We offer a free half-hour consultation. Have him call me. We'll be more than happy to help him out.
Here's Sharon in Fort Lauderdale. She said, I tell you what is so great about this show. It is impossible to get a hold of the IRS, and you don't want to ask a friend because it is embarrassing. So I love this show. Can you explain what an installment arrangement is?
I can explain that, but first let me tell you, yeah, they're short-handed. They don't answer the phone half the time. In the old days, we had to do the same thing. We'd wait for an hour or two, get disconnected. But now we have special software. It cost me a pretty penny for the most part. We get through in 3 minutes. Now, it does cost a lot of money, but it's better than waiting on the phone for an hour. And sometimes it's 9 minutes or 11 minutes, but we can certainly get through. So, and you know, I have people that hire me just because they can't get through. In terms of an installment agreement, that's like an offer. If you get a partial pay installment agreement, that's like an offer in compromise, and that you're never going to pay back the full amount, but you pay over time. So it's like an installment agreement in that you pay monthly. It's all based on your ability to pay. Now, if you have enough money and you can pay it all back, you don't have to pay it all at once. You can set up what's called a streamlined installment agreement, and you might be able to get first-time penalty abatement with that. But that is set up over 72 months, which gives you a lot of time to pay that off and makes it manageable in terms of your finances. So that's the thing. It's not like you have to pay it all off right then and there if you owe like $50,000, because most people can't. But if you can prove to the IRS you don't have the ability to pay it all back, and it's a lot of work for you, it's a lot of work for us. We got to go through financial statements. We got to go through bank statements, credit card statements, debit card statements. But when we go through that, and we can give you advice then on how to structure your assets to get a better deal out of Uncle Sam. We go through all that, and we can prove to the IRS you got a $50,000 debt, but you can only pay $200 a month. Guess what? You're never going to pay all that back, because the IRS does not have forever to collect the tax, Steve. That's the beauty of all this. And 10% of the time, maybe a little more, we run out the clock on collections for people, and sometimes they never pay a dime of it back.
Kelly in Orange County, California. Love your show. You are so informative. Do you use enrolled agents or attorneys?
Well, I'm going to tell you this, and you know, I'm pretty blunt about things, and I'm sure that there are a lot of great enrolled agents out there, but I haven't had much luck, probably because they worked for the IRS before they came here. And you know, when you work for the government, you don't care about the client. You care about getting cases out of your inventory, and you certainly don't have the negotiation skills that attorneys have. And so I'm sure there are great enrolled agents out there. I haven't had one yet. So right now I am composed of just attorneys, and I have to tell you, it's the best core of practitioners I've ever had. I have 2 people here in Missouri, 3 in Nashville, 2 in Texas, and 1 in Florida. And I got to tell you something else. I used to not believe in remote employees, Steve. My best employees now are remote. I took a leadership class 2 years ago. And the best thing I ever learned was how I was going to grow the business. And the thing was to hire remote attorneys. And it's worked out great. And that's why, Steve, within 2 years, I hopefully in 18 months or less, will be in Miami. I'd like to be there the first of the year, but that might be a little optimistic.
Yeah, we get so many emails from Florida. A lot in Tampa for some reason. Tampa and Fort Lauderdale are the two big cities.
Well, I got to tell you, and I ran this through AI, and this is beyond AI. This is actualized intelligence. And I went through there and looked at the prime places in the United States to put a tax resolution office. And number one, LA was second, but Miami was number one because of the type of clients down there. And I can't remember off the top of my head why, Steve, and of course, Chicago was up there. Houston was up there, and Phoenix, Atlanta, Chicago. So those are the places that are down the road in the future. Because, Steve, you and I, like you said at the outset, we're in the prime of our life. We got to keep growing the business.
I know. Hey, we just got a text in from Harold in Grapevine, Texas. I'm really enjoying your show. This is my second show I've watched. I actually trust you more than these national commercials. Is it really true, this Fresh Start program? Does it really exist?
Well, I'm going to talk about the Fresh Start. Then I'm going to talk to you about the national firms. The Fresh Start program is not really a program. It's an initiative that the IRS started, I think, all the way back in 2012, 2014 now. And it really didn't. You just can't call them up and say, oh, give me a fresh start. It's still based on your ability to pay it back. But what it did was, in part, was to raise the level at which a lien was filed against you from $5,000 to $10,000. And it made it easier to get an offer in compromise accepted because it lowered the amount that you would have to pay, the multiplier. And I'm not going to go into all that. That's going to get too much in depth. But they lowered that to make it easier. So now 60 to 70% of people nationwide, their offer in compromise is accepted. It was much lower back then. But if you do it on your own, it's only 10 to 15%. In terms of these national firms, here's what I want to tell you. I tell everybody, if you don't hire me, there's 3 rules. The first rule is hire an attorney that does this every single day. Accountants are great with the numbers, but all my attorneys have seen accountants screw up and give atrocious advice to their clients. Particularly, they will have them file tax returns beyond the last 6 years, and that's all you have to file to be compliant. And if you're self-employed, they're putting tens of thousands of dollars on the books for their clients that they don't have to. They're great with the numbers, but they just dabble with IRS stuff. Number 2, go local. We have people that are in all these offices that we have offices in that can meet with you. And number 3, we tell everybody, don't hire one of the big boys. There's a lot of scam artists out there. And I have a little cold this morning, Steve, so I'm coughing a little. But, they never tell you what they're going to charge you. They'll end up charging you $20,000, $30,000. They never do the work for you. They have a salesman on the outset. He's not versed in IRS stuff. He just trying to get you in, and they don't do the work. And so a lot of people pay a lot of money to those big firms, and they never do anything for them. It's one of the reasons why the industry gets a bad name. But you can look us up. We're a 4.7 out of 5 in St. Louis. We're a 4.9 out of 5 in Nashville. So we're the real deal, Steve. So give us a call. We'll help you out.
Lance, I'm going to let you in on a secret. You're becoming one of those big companies, but you're never going to forget where you came from. because customer service, I have learned from doing the show with you, is so important to you.
That's right, Stephen. Let me tell you one of the things that's in the works. You know, whether you like it or not, AI is here to stay. And, you know, I'm with an outfit and they want them to do all the sales for you and to get people on board of that. We're not going to do that. What we're going to do is we're going to use AI to help the firm out. But that initial consult is still going to be with one of our attorneys. If your liability is high enough, it's going to be with me. Anything over 50,000, I still talk to people. They'll come when that keeps getting higher. And the initial intake, if you call and you have a problem, you're going to get a real live person. But in terms of the follow-ups, we're going to automate that all through AI, get stuff sent out every once a month or remind you, here's what we need for stuff. But we're never going completely there because we don't want to lose the human touch. These are human beings whose lives are literally at stake, monetarily, emotionally, business-wise. So we don't want to lose that because that's what we're here for. We're here for people. You know, it's always been said, when you're a lawyer, you're not just a lawyer. You're like their minister. You're like their psychiatrist. Yes. And that's true. You have to understand that. And, you know, I had a guy once, he worked for the IRS and he wanted to settle this case. And the guy would pay the full amount. I wouldn't let him do it. I said, we're going back to collections where he's not going to pay a dime. And he looked at me and he goes, because he was a former revenue officer, and he goes, well, I just wanted to get one of my cases out of my inventory. And I said, they're not inventory, they're people. That's who we serve. And don't ever forget that. Some people thought I should have fired him on the spot. I didn't, but he's not here. And it's probably for the best. But, you know, sometimes you don't always hire the right person. And I don't think I would ever hire an ex-IRS personnel because I've had problems a couple times with that.
So my final question is, I want to thank everybody for all the questions you're writing and taking the time. And we really appreciate it. You're going to be with us 2 more times this month. The last Friday of this month is the easiest one to remember. That is your show you do in Missouri and Tennessee with us. Tell people, if I'm having a tax issue, why should I hire your firm?
Because we go the extra mile for people. Like I said at the outset, we're the liberation architects. We give people their lives back. This isn't about numbers. It starts with the numbers, but we can give you advice on how to structure your assets and your expenses to get a better deal out of Uncle Sam. We can formulate arguments. I'll give you an example. Revenue officer wanted to take this guy's home. He wanted to take his business. He was a dentist in Virginia or West Virginia. My managing attorney in Nashville met his son at a networking event, got him. And the revenue officer wouldn't budge. So we went to appeals. The guy kept his home. He kept his business. He's paying very little back of $200,000 that was owed to the IRS. That's what we can do for you.
You're amazing. Tell people how they can reach your office. Especially for those who are listening on radio, Lance, that can't see the scroll on YouTube.
Go to lancedrurylaw.com. Not only can you get the phone numbers, there's a lot of great stuff there. The speeches I've made, the books I've co-authored, the award I won 10 years ago. We'll take care of you.
Lance Drury, Attorney Lance Drury, thank you so much. You start off the month for me so incredible. We love you, bro. We'll see
you in a few. And email me and let's see what we can do for the long term, Steve.
Okay, buddy. That's Attorney Lance Drury. I'm telling you, he's one of the best tax relief attorneys. Give him a call. That's going to do it for us today. We'll be back in with you next week with more Ask the Experts.
Thanks for tuning in today to the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV. Tune in next week and every week to hear more from our experts on personal injury, insurance, air condition repairs, estate planning, Medicare, and many other topics in the areas of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. See you next week.